Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Are You In? I hope you've all stayed warm today and dry in this storm that we had today in the Northeast. Uh, Not a great Monday, but still glad to see all of you today. And I will be reviewing another album from 2018, and this one is entitled The War Act 1 by the family Crest. So, this might be a band that not many of you know of, and actually, I did not know of this band until very recently. This particular band is known as a orchestral indie rock band, as what they like to claim. They also have some hints of jazz, folk, and classical as well, and they are from San Francisco, California. Their members include Liam McCormick on lead vocals and guitar, John Cederlin on bass, Anthony Franceschi on drums, Laura Bergman on flute, percussion, and vocals, George Saman on trombone, Owen Sutter on violin and percussion, and Charlie Akert on cello and percussion. So they're a very big band, and they also have many other people guest star on it, but that is the main 7 people on this band. They've had mostly EPs, but they've had 2 previous LPs, which are entitled The Village in 2012 and Beneath the Brine in 2014. So, like I said, didn't really know this band until very recently. I actually saw them in concert with another band that I love a lot, called Deer Hunter. You probably have heard me talk about them before. They had a #1 album of the year for me in 2016 with Act 5, Hymns with the Devil in Confessional. So when I found out that they were going to be playing at the Royale in Boston, I immediately jumped on board to go see them. And while doing so, saw the opening act, the family Crest, and was really interested in them. They had more of a folky style than the Deer Hunter, but they still had a lot of different interesting ideas that you don't usually hear in folk music. Not necessarily like a Mumford and Sons kind of folky, if that makes sense. So I thought to myself, hey, I'm going to take a listen into them and really dive into their work because they seem interesting. And I didn't. That was a mistake on my end. But I redeemed myself when I found out on my phone. I got like a Google message being like, hey, this CD's coming out today. You should take a listen to it. I actually, funny enough, got 2 of them that day. It was that and 30 Seconds to Mars. Still haven't heard that one yet. Have no idea if that one's good, but I gave the Family Crest a shot. Being like, hey, I really liked them before, so maybe I'll like them this time around. So, after listening to this CD, how did I feel about it? Well, on the positive note, and my God, there are so many positive notes on this album, but the biggest thing for me is that the first idea that I hear is that it's so beautiful in concept, beautiful in sound, and not just beautiful but also versatile. A hugely versatile CD. So with this particular CD, apparently they had a lot more people on this CD. I think they said up to like 50 or 100 people in an orchestra. And again, I haven't heard their previous work, but if it's anything like this, then I'm totally bought in to their world. Now, this particular CD may or may not be a Act 1 of a multiple part series from what they're talking about, which I think is funny that they worked with Deer Hunter, who's known for doing their act works, and now they're diving into that. But who knows if there's any influence one way or the other. But from what I understand, this is a CD that talks about love and about family and about war in general over the years. Not necessarily any particular war that any real life war, but war and the struggles that it has on the people, on the micro level rather than the macro level. And unfortunately, I can't really look up any particular lyrics about it because, funny enough, there hasn't been no one has put up the lyrics on Genius or any other place for this particular album. So, like, not only is this brand new, but not many people have heard about it, from what I understand. I listened to it on YouTube, and there's barely any comments, barely any looked at. So it's funny to me that that not many people know about this CD. But anyways, like I said, this is beautiful and so versatile in sound. You want a song that has a bossa nova type of feel, a little bit more jazzy and bossa nova. Look at Daggers, which has an awesome progression. It is honestly my favorite song on the album. And as I talked about on previous Are You In, I may have discussed this idea of going between a minor 7 chord and a major 7 chord by half steps. And this particular song has that type of progression. So what I'm talking about here is we have a progression of C sharp minor 7, C major 7, B minor 7, B flat major 7. So how that basically works is that as those as the root of the chord, which is C sharp, C, B, B flat, go down by half step, so will the fifth. So in that case, you have D sharp, you have G, you have F sharp, and F. So as those motions go down, you're going half step each way, and then as you keep going down, you have certain points where these notes stay the same. So in the C sharp, in the third, you have E for the C sharp, which is a minor third, and then it comes into a major third in C, and then you go down a half step again. So you have, actually a whole step. So you have D as your minor third in B, and then D as your major third in B flat. And then same thing for the seventh. So you have B as your minor seventh, or your flat 7 in C sharp minor 7. You have B as your major 7 in C. You have A as the flat 7 in B minor 7, and you have the A as a major 7 in B flat major 7. That's a lot of theory, but basically the idea is that with this small movement, you create different color changes and sound changes, which is really, really cool to me. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful progression. And then eventually you get to a point where it's they go C sharp minor 7, C major 7, then G major 7, and then B 7. So another really cool little color change, if you will. So that's the verse stuff. So some really, really beautiful stuff. Really nice feel. Very, very like a song that you hear in a jazz club. And you also have a progression of E minor 7, C major 7, A minor 7, F major 7 in the chorus. And then there's also one more progression later in the song of A minor 7, F major 7, D minor 7, B flat major 7. So a lot of really cool color changes, and there is one other part in general that has another cool idea, which is the later half of the song, where you have an area that basically is 31 beats, right? But how it works is that you have a 7/8 measure, and then everything else is 2 measures of 4/4. So you'll have 7, 8, 8, 8, which is something that's I don't usually hear of, like a false going into 7/8 and then staying in common time. So that's another just really, really cool idea that they throw in there. And that's not even talking about McCormick's voice. McCormick's voice sounds amazing on this. He has a really jazzy voice with a very sweet and powerful head voice. So he's an amazing storyteller on this song, and it's talking about losing a loved one, or just a love, you know, a significant other in general, and just how he riffs, how he belts, all these different melody changes sound so nice on this song. My favorite song on the album. Then you get something like a tango at the end, which again, not my favorite song. Actually, the funny thing is that it's my least favorite song on the album, but still an awesome song, an awesome, really, really powerful feel to end this CD. Even though if it's weird to end the CD this way, though it might just be a way of preparing us for a cliffhanger for the second act, and it definitely feels like that, where you have a song where it's talking about someone leaving for war or for another shore and being like, my place is here, your place is back home, so that's why we can't be together right now. And even the music itself sets up a cliffhanger where it never goes back to the one chord in the song. So all in all, another song where it just feels different. You want a song that's mostly piano, and then eventually gets to an orchestra. You get I Was Born, which is a beautiful song that has the best melody on the album. It's just a really short and sweet song that just starts with piano, and then it brings in some strings and some woodwinds, and then the full entire orchestra comes in, and it's just a really cool, really awesome build that it happens on a lot of these songs. You want something that is mostly voice, guitar, and piano. Well, then you get Like a Light. That feels a lot like a Mumford & Sons song. It's mostly just guitar with a little bit of piano lines interspersed in as like a counter melody, and it sounds really cool. And even still, the guitar part is not just chords. It has some intricate strummings and everything like that, and it shows McCormick's lower register, which works so well with the imagery of the song, and shows that he can be a really cool storyteller as well, not just a crooner. So this whole entire CD has all these different songs that just span a lot of different genres. You got something that's more pop rockish on more like Never Gonna Stop, which is the lead single on this album. One with a really, really funny music video, and one that just is fun in general, that builds and builds and builds. One that doesn't have as much of the orchestra until the bridge, but shows off McCormick's ability to be understated at first, and then be a person with so much power in their voice, especially on the chorus. And another little, just a little thing that you can just hear after listening to the song is that at one point in time, before the last chorus, you get McCormick singing a C sharp while the chord is a D. So that means he's singing the major seventh, which is a really, really cool note to land on. And there's other points in time where that's another, where it shows up in other songs, like the first song, To Love You, which is this song that has a rubato beginning where it's just out of time and it's just him and piano. At least, after a orchestral interlude that has a really, really nice chord progression of E, F, E, A, C, A minor, F, D minor. And it just sets up this stage that, first off, this is going to be a powerful CD, and second, it's going to be a CD that doesn't just throw conventional stuff in. It's a CD that shows a lot of artistic merit to it, where it's trying different chord progressions. And then, like I said, there's this very powerful part where it's just him singing I Was Born to Love You, while it's a rubato piano line, which basically means he's dictating with his voice how fast he wants this part to go. and it just builds and builds. They bring the orchestra back in, and eventually they get to a point right before the drums and the rest of the orchestra come in, where he's singing an E, and the orchestra part is building and building and building and building to a D sharp in all the voices. So he's singing the E, the root note, and he's holding that as this line gets to D sharp, which is such a cool idea. And it's like right from there, I was already sold on this CD. And it also uses one of my favorite progressions on this song. It goes from at the end where he's just belting out, "I was born to love you, I was born to love you, I was born to love you." And it's such a powerful line. It goes E, C, A minor, F, which in the key of E, that means you're going 1, you're going 6 major, you're going 4 minor, and you're going flat 2. So all of that, just such a cool idea. If you haven't heard that progression before, you may have heard it on Lingus if you're a Snarky Puppy fan, during like the solo part where you have the 3.5 minute piano improvisation. So like I said, all of this stuff is just all over the board, and that's not even talking about half of the CD. You got a song like "It Keeps Us Dancing," the next song on the album, where it feels much like a Mumford & Sons song, and then you have the orchestra come in, and it's very understated at parts, and then you get this. It's the longest song on the album, and you get to a point where you get the bridge part where you have a chord progression of E, C sharp minor, C, A, B, where it's kind of like that same idea what we were talking about with the C sharp minor 7 and the C major 7. This just change where you have one note that's changing, but it creates, or 1 or 2 notes that are changing, but it creates everything else into such a cool color idea. And the other thing about that is that while the C chord is happening, he's singing a note that goes from G all the way down to A in a G major scale, which is just cool. And then once it hits the A chord, he jumps up an octave to another A. So it's these little things that just make these songs so enjoyable, at least for me as a music nerd, as someone who teaches music. It's just really cool to see these, like, oh cool, he's doing this idea, and again, that's just the grandiose scale of this CD. You have all these different sounds that make this a really cool journey to go on. Even I haven't talked about a couple of these. Take Tonight is definitely a more single heavy song, but it's still another really cool song with a really cool melody. You have a song like Rest that it's a more sedated type of song. It's a little bit understated. At first it's very understated, where you just have hand drums and a guitar line, and then eventually it brings in the orchestra and it brings in more and more parts. And it's a beautiful, beautiful song. The interesting thing about this particular one is that it is in 4/4, but it feels like sometimes it's 7/4 because of the way that the chord hits. But it's not because it's in 7/4. It's more because the chord hits on the third beat of the second measure. And it's an interesting progression. It's a very simple progression of F, A minor, C, and it goes stepwise. So you have a part where you have the bass line going G, and you have a part where it's going B right before C, and then you have the E bringing it back to F. But it's those little things of, I'm going to throw this little idea in where it's going to hit at 3, but I'm still going to be having one more beat to fool people into thinking, is it in 7/4? Is it in common time? You have a song like uh, the years, which is fully for the most part in 7/4 or 7/8, and then it brings, I'm sorry, 5/4, and then it brings in just one measure every so often of 6/4, and it's another simplistic song, but it works well, and McCormick's voice sounds awesome on it. Very, very laid back and jazzy on there. The Mighty Echo, where you have probably the song that sounds the most like a Deer Hunter song, where it's so much full of energy, and it feels like it may or may not be in 7/8, but it's at least at the beginning. But so like at points, it feels like it's in a different progression, a time meter in this song, at least at the beginning. But what it is another trick where the chord itself is hitting on the second beat of a particular measure, making it sound like it's in a different time rather than what it is. So it's these little tricks, and again, didn't even talk about one more quick thing. I'm sorry that I'm nerding out about this, but it's just all these really cool ideas that come up. So going back to It Keeps Us Dancing, there's a part after the second to last chorus where you have this waltz feel and the orchestra's playing, and what happens is you get this this section of 20 measures of 3/4, and basically how it boils down to is that it's brought into four groups. So you have three groups of 6 measures, and then a group of 2 measures, and that happens throughout the rest of the song. This little bridge interlude, the last chorus, it's just all these little things, these nice little touches, and I'm probably not even mentioning other ones that I personally haven't heard yet. I've only listened to the CD 4 or 5 times so far, and it's been a couple of weeks. But that's what I really enjoy about this album, is that there's so many little details that are thrown in to make such really cool ideas. Even on, again, going back to the years, where it has the best use of an orchestral line, orchestral melody line, that just is beautiful. And that's why it's so hard for me to rank these songs, or even to say a worse, like a bad song. Waiting Still is a song that's probably the heaviest on there, and it sometimes feels a little bit out of place, but it's not a bad song. None of these songs are bad, and this is why I love this CD so much. I cannot emphasize that enough. This is some of the best orchestral work that I've heard since one of my favorite CDs from a couple of years ago, Silva, the Snarky Puppy album with Metropole Orchestre, has some of the best orchestral work I've ever heard on a CD, and this is, if not the same, just a little bit underneath that. And what sets it all apart is, again, the versatility, the beauty, the fact that McCormick has such a dynamic voice, that he can go from crooning and improvising to belting out these beautiful chest voice and even head voice songs, to even having low and understated voice, where he's much more able to tell a story and be calm and be reserved, and it's so interesting. I'm so glad that I got to see this band. I'm so glad that I finally got to listen to an amazing CD for this year, and I'm definitely going to check out more of their stuff. As for recommending it, honestly, if you love beautiful music, if you love versatile music, you're going to love the CD. If you love jazz, you're going to love the CD. If you love a little bit of classical in your CDs, you're gonna love the CD. If you like CDs with orchestras in it, you're gonna love this. If you like folk music, you're gonna love this. If you like indie, you're gonna love this. I can't recommend this enough to somebody. If you like complexity in your music, go for it. The only people I can't really recommend this to is if you love pop or you love simple music. I can't recommend it to you, but I would at least say try to listen to it, because I think you would find, even if you don't understand the complexity of this, I think you would find some beautiful music and very, very interesting music. Um, I can't compare this to to Deer Hunter. I can a little bit, but it would be a disservice to compare the two. Deer Hunter is a little bit more versatile in the genres that they use, and the story itself, and they are a little bit harder. But that's not what this band is, from what I understand. This is more a lighter version of Deer Hunter, if you will. If that helps you figure out if you would like this band or not, but still give it a try. It's approachable enough and beautiful enough in its approachability, even if there are some interesting chord progressions or interesting time progressions. I think it's still very approachable in the music that maybe a Deer Hunter would not be. So, as of right now, this is my front runner of 2018, and everyone else needs to step up, because this is an amazing CD by a band that not many people know about. So that's my time, and I hope I've preached enough about this CD for you to check it out, because the first time I listened to it, I was like, wow, this is incredible, and I'm glad that after 4 or 5 times listening to it, I'm like, yep, this is just as great as I think it is. Thank you for letting me nerd out about music and music theory and time and everything like that. If you want to hear me nerd more about that, please, of course, do a couple of things. Like this video so I know that you enjoy what I talk about and the concepts that I talk about. Comment on what I can do better, or any questions that you have about certain things that I was talking about. Share it with your friends so that they can also nerd out on the music that I'm talking about. Subscribe so you see more of me nerding out about music. And finally, just, I have one quick question for you guys. So, as I've been talking more about this stuff, about chord progressions, about modes, about time and stuff like that, I do understand that some people may or may not understand the certain things I'm talking about. So I would also like you to comment if you would like me to do a little series on music theory. I am a one-on-one music teacher as one of my jobs that I do. So I would like to be able to potentially let you all understand a little bit more of what I'm talking about. So if you were to listen to music, that you would be able to catch these certain things that I'm talking about, and make it a little bit more enjoyable potentially. So if you are interested in that, please let me know, because I would love to talk even a little bit of basic theory, whether it's talking about what meter is, or what a scale is, or all the different notes in our music language, everything like that. I would be down to talk about that. So feel free to let me know. Now, the schedule for this coming week, I have a Are You In for 2017, one that just missed my top 10. I have an album review so that one's going to be Wednesday. I have an album review for Sunday about an actual very disappointing album from 2018. I won't say it, but I will let you know that the song choice for this cover song for this week is going to let you know what that album is. And then next week, I have a really special treat. I'm not going to do any cover songs, but I'm going to have 3 album reviews from 2018 with very special guests. So that's my goal for the next 6 videos. So please, please keep in touch with what I'm doing, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.